The Leaders Coach podcast is about connecting leaders to an identity that will help transform their leadership by engaging in conversations that lead to opportunities for growth, authenticity, and vulnerability. As we're unlocked, we simultaneously empower others to live and lead unique and authentic lives. Let's go deeper. Welcome to the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. I hope everything that you are hoping for, praying for, manifesting, whatever, that it is happening for you today. I hope you guys had an incredible week, and I'm excited to jump into this new episode of the Leaders Coach podcast. First off, let me say this. I definitely have to thank you all for just the love that you guys are sharing with me. It's just been phenomenal. The comments, the text messages, the engagement that I am getting on the website and on social media. Thank you. I'm so grateful. And this thank you, there's so much gratefulness. There's so much appreciation behind this thank you. And I'm going to share that with you here in just a little bit. But let me just express my heartfelt thank you again for you guys just taking the time out to listen. I remember growing up, and the pastor used to always say, there's a billion churches on one block that you could have went to, but you stopped by this church. And so there's a billion podcasts out there that you guys could have been listening to, but you chose to listen to the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. And so for that, I am eternally grateful and thankful for you. Please continue to go and like and subscribe. You guys can follow us on IG at The Leaders Coach Pod, The Leaders Coach Pod. Also, check out our website at theleaderscoachpodcast.com, theleaderscoachpodcast.com. On their website, you guys can engage with us. When you go to the website by clicking on share your thoughts. Share your thoughts. That takes you to an audio where you can speak your mind. You can ask a question. You can engage with us. And you never know, your voice may be on the Leaders Coach and we will answer your question. If you guys would like to be a guest or you know someone who will be phenomenal for this platform, please go to the Leaders Coach podcast and be a guest. Fill out that form and somebody from my team will get back with you all in just a short time. And so again, this is an incredible day definitely here in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area. Just an incredible day, and just thank you guys. And so I know I said I would tell you guys about the thankfulness. There's so much gratitude behind my thankfulness. Thanking you guys. And let me say this: I'm grateful because, and before I get into that, y'all probably like, girl, get into what you gonna say, child. I am, just give me a minute. But one thing about it is those who know me, those who do not know me, you will come to know me and hopefully come to love me through this podcast. And one thing about me is I'm very candid, I'm very direct, I'm very authentic. I try to be as authentic as possible, because I realized that for a season of my life, I wasn't comfortable being me. And because I wasn't comfortable being me, I wasn't being authentic to myself. And so over the years, as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've come into more confidence and boldness with who I was created to be, the authenticity just flows from there. And so you guys will get authenticity from me. You will get vulnerability. You're going to get the truth, because I believe it's the truth that sets us free. And sometimes we are on islands by ourselves, and we think that we're the only person that's on this island because, number one, no one is having a conversation. Or if they are having a conversation, it could be where you may feel like, well, you're not on the island alone, but you are doing things alone. Or you may not feel as open to share those things that you're going through because of maybe judgments and because of criticism or how people will look at you. And I totally understand it, especially from a leader's perspective, because as leaders, we are looked at to be the people who know it all, in a sense. Hold on, not that we're God, but we are looked at as, you have to know it all. People come to us for answers. And so when we don't have those answers, or when we have what we call humane moments, because we are human, sometimes it's like, well, it could be judgment, it could be criticism. And so that's why here at the Leaders Coach, I take care of leaders, because I understand, y'all understand how it feels to be a leader in a particular industry, and in that industry and not having a community, right, or a support system to be able to be vulnerable, or to share your heart with. And I think that's definitely important as leaders. We have to have that. And so that's why the Leaders Coach, this is that platform for it, so we can have those vulnerable conversations, so we can talk, because before leader, before title, we're human. And within our humanity, we are operating in a position, and we want to be the best for our position. But before we can be the best for our position, we first have to be the best for ourselves. Oh, that's good. That's good teaching right there. But we first have to be the best for ourselves. And so that is the foundation of the Leaders Coach, because I was a young leader, and I shared this a little bit with you guys on the first episode. I won't get too much into it. And I understand how it's about the perfection, so to speak, or let me see, we are more about the title and having you to look a certain way than we are caring for the person. And that's what we do here at the Leaders Coach. I'm all about caring for the person that operates as the leader. And so again, just is thankful for that. So let me get to what I was going to share with you guys about this thankfulness. And then I'm going to get into talk to you guys about what coaching is, because I know people offer coaching and it looks different for different people, but what coaching truly is. So therefore we can get the help that we need. I personally, I have people that I allow into my life to coach and to mentor me, and it has helped me tremendously to be who I am today. But let's rewind. Let's rewind back to when I said there's so much gratefulness behind the thankfulness of you guys tuning in and listening. And that thankfulness, that gratefulness comes from, so you guys know, those who listened to the first episode, those who know me, I've done radio for so many years. I did radio for a very long time. I stopped in 2015, and it was nudging in me. It was like God telling me, start this podcast, start a podcast. And I'm just like, God, I don't know. I don't want to do it no more. I'm in a new season of my life. I'm on a new trajectory. And I just kept going back and forth with God, because the reality of it is I should have already started this podcast before the first episode dropped. I had bought the equipment last year and got everything together and ready for just this podcast. And I just kept sitting on it. And I was just like, ugh. And so one thing that came to my mind, the reason why I sat on it for so long, and the reason why there's so much gratefulness behind the thankfulness, is because I was operating from old experiences. And for my faith-led leaders, I was operating from what the Bible says, that old wineskin, right? And so because of that, I was fearful because I told God, I said, God, I don't need this to be another hobby. I don't need this to be another thing. And I just said my prayers and sent my concerns to God of where I was and why I did not want to do this. And so just releasing that and talking to God about it, and just kind of going through in my head and just really just rewiring my thinking. And we're going to get to that, because remember, that was supposed to be your action step, right? Rewiring those old beliefs. And so just rewiring that old thinking, because I had to realize, Dr. Brown, you are in a new position. You are in a new season. You've gained new knowledge, new wisdom. A lot of things have happened for you in your life. And so therefore you won't, the podcast or the radio or the airwaves, it's going to sound different. It's going to be different because you're different. And so that really had to sit in me and sit on the inside of me and really help me rewire my thinking around why did I want to do the podcast, because of just the previous experiences. And again, I had great experiences before with my radio career, but however, I'm on a new trajectory now, and I'm like, I don't know, God, I don't know how this is going to look, and I don't need it to look the way it looked before. And so that's why I have so much gratefulness behind the thankfulness, is because of, I know what I was battling with. I know those limited and self-inflicting thoughts that I was having around starting this podcast, and just coming out, starting it, dropping these episodes, and so much love I have been shown. Oh God, you guys wouldn't believe it. And to me, that's God's way of saying, I got you, I told you, and it's working. It's working for your good. And so that's why the gratefulness is behind the thankfulness. And before we get into our lesson and checking to see, make sure you guys did those action steps, I do want to share something that I share with my group this week. I work with a youth group in a local community here, and one thing I was telling them was the difference between faith and faithfulness. And I hope this helps somebody, because this is something I had to learn even as I started on this journey of working on this podcast. And let me be clear, it's greater than the podcast. The podcast is just a doorway to the many things God has shown me to do, but this is just a doorway. And so I just want to make sure I'm clear with that. And so faith and faithfulness are two different things. So faith is the belief, assurance of God's word and all that he has done. So faith is the belief, assurance of God's word and all that he has done. And if you don't believe in God, and you're listening to this, faith is the belief, assurance of whatever that you believe, right? It's the belief, assurance of whatever that you believe. And then faithfulness is living in accord to that truth. Faithfulness is what? Living in accordance to that truth. So again, faith is the belief, the assurance that something is true, that you believe something. In this case, again, I'm a faith-based leader, that God's word and all he has done. And then the faithfulness is living in accord with that truth. And so when we look at these two different components and these two different things, we tend to sometimes merge both together interchangeably. But the reality of it is they're not interchangeable, because faithfulness shows me that I am living according to the faith that I am believing for, right? And so we can have these ideas, visions, these desires in our hearts that we feel like, oh, this is what I need to go after. This is the vision. We can have all those things in our heart. And as we're along our journey, this faith journey, we are going to come up against hardships. We're going to come up against obstacles. We're going to come up against limited beliefs. We're going to come up against discouragement. We're going to come up against times we want to give up. We want to throw in the towel. And that's just a part of the human experience. But the ideal behind the faithfulness is continuing to live according to the truth. That truth is whatever that faith you are believing in, right? Living according to that. So when the obstacles come, when the hardships come, you are aware, because we talked about self-awareness, right? The first episode, one of those episodes. If you go back, we talked about self-awareness, being aware, being conscious of the way you're thinking, you're feeling, and you're choosing. And so even when those obstacles come along on that that journey of faithfulness, then you are aware of, oh man, this is a hardship, but I can't stop going toward the goal. I cannot stop going toward faith, that belief, that assurance that this is going to happen. And so just rewiring your thinking, because even when those obstacles and the winds and the waves and all those things come against your faithfulness, because again, that faithfulness is just a journey living according to the truth of what you're believing, which is your faith, right? And living according to that. And as you're living according to that, you are aware like, oh no, these obstacles are coming, and you cannot change your external circumstances, but what you can change is your internal mindset, right? What you can change is the way you're thinking about it. What you can change is seeing it from a different perspective. So as you're seeing it from a different perspective, what is happening is you are remaining faithful, even though you probably got off a little bit, but you're not living in the unfaithfulness, right? You're now living in the faithfulness of the faith that you are believing. Oh, that was good. I hope somebody got that. I know I went pretty fast with that, but you guys can rewind. That is the good thing about technology. Go back and rewind that. because I want you guys to know that the faith and the faithfulness are two different things. And so even sharing my own experience, I go back to the podcast. It was the faith that God has told me to do this. It was the faith and the belief that I know I'm capable of this. I can do this. I'm not new to it. Going all the way down through there, that was the faith part. Ooh, but that faithfulness part, it took a long time. And I'm going to be honest. Again, this is the Leaders Coach podcast. I'm going to be honest with you, because we face these circumstances. We face these things. And the objective is to overcome it. Because if we don't overcome it, we will never know the victory that we can gain. And so even with sharing my own experience with the faith and the faithfulness, I've had to learn to be faithful, living according to the faith that's in my heart, living according to the faith or the vision that's in my heart, living according to what I know that I should be doing in this season. And when those obstacles come, being aware of that so I can pivot and I am able to endure what it is that I am facing and what it is that is keeping me from moving forward. And so with that being said, that's what coaching is. So what is coaching? Coaching, according to ICF, the International Coaching Federation, it is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. The process of coaching often unlocks previously untapped sources of imagination, productivity, and leadership. So y'all said, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. That clearly just means that you, as we're coaching, as a coach, I partner with clients in a thought-provoking creative process, asking those clarifying questions, asking those questions around the self-awareness to help them unlock their personal and professional potential. So it's all about asking the question, giving you the key, and helping you unlock your potential and helping you to move forward. So when it comes to coaching, because coaching, mentoring, and therapy are all different things. Some people think coaching is therapy. It is not. Therapy mostly looks in the past to see why you are where you are in your present. Coaching says we're going to start from here and help you to move forward, right? So it's this creative process. It's literally a process, and you're walking people through this journey. And I honestly believe that we all have seeds inside of us. We're all born with seeds. Let me be clear, because I got all types of audiences listens to this. So I'm not just talking about like a physical seed, but I think a purposeful seed. Let me say this, a seed of purpose. We all have a seed of purpose that's living on the inside of us, right? And I believe that as that seed of purpose living on the inside of us, as we partner with people, as we cultivate, as we grow, as we mature, as we learn, as we grow in wisdom, that seed grows to help us to be able to align with our purpose. I don't believe purpose is lost. I don't believe people are, oh, I found my purpose. No, you didn't find it. You just discovered it, right? Because you already had purpose. And so you just are discovering your purpose. I don't believe in finding purpose when it's already in us. But that's another topic for another day. So that's what coaching is. So that's what I do with my clients. I walk alongside of you in this thought-provoking creative process. And I have been able to help people get to breakthrough, help people discover more about themselves, help people to do away with those self-doubting thoughts, those self-limiting thoughts, those obstacles that they're facing. And I've been so fortunate and so blessed on my journey to help so many people from all around the world, all around the country. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about my coaching, you guys can go to the Leaders Coach podcast.com or shanitaBrown.com and inquire, and we can definitely have a conversation, because I would love to help you along this journey, because again, I'm all about empowering the person and developing the person and then empowering the leader. And so that's a little bit about coaching. I know I throw that out there. People throw that out there, and there are different types of coaching. This is not like sports coaching. Coaching in the area that I'm talking about is I don't give you the answers. I believe the answers are in you. My job is to ask the right questions to help pull those answers out of you to bring awareness to where you are. So that's what coaching is. All right. So hope you guys, I know that was a lot, but I hope you guys are still hanging with me and that you are being encouraged even as we're going on this faith and faithfulness journey. And so let's jump into this real quick, these action steps. So our action steps from last episode, we talked about, I gave you guys some practical feedback or practical tips about journaling, seeking feedback, mindfulness meditation, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. And so we did start with the action step. I gave you guys an action step. And so hopefully you did it. If you did do the action step, please reach out to us on Instagram at the Leaders Coach Pod, or even our website, the leaderscoachpodcast.com. There is a chat button. Click on there and say, hey, Dr. Brown, I did my steps. This is helping. This is what happened. Or, hey, I did them. I don't see nothing coming happen in my life. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. We want to make sure that these things are working for you. And so our action steps, it was choose an area of discipline, measure it, and rewire some new beliefs around it. So you guys were to choose an area of discipline, the area that you wanted to be disciplined in. So I think I used the example of losing weight. Yeah. Or eating less sugar. I think that's what it was. Eating less sugar. And so my discipline was to eat less sugar. And actually, guys, I actually did it. So I was really surprised. I was happy. So you guys aren't the only ones going through this. I am going through this as well. So when I give you these action steps, these are things that I've actually applied to my life in the past, or that I am currently applying, because leadership is a journey. Nobody has arrived. Leadership is a journey, and we're growing, and going. So I chose an area of discipline, and I think it was eating less sugar. So measured it, and I think I probably ate sugar like 4 days this week. Yeah, 4 out of 7, which is not bad considering I will probably eat like maybe 6 or 7. Probably eat sugar every day. But however, don't judge. Ooh, don't judge me. Don't judge me. I was about to sing that Chris Brown song. I forgot what it is. I might need to drop it in the song in this podcast. Don't judge me. We're working on this together. We listen, we don't judge. That's a TikTok trend. We listen, we don't judge. And so I think I ate sugar about 4 times this week. Well, I calculated 4 times this week. And so that's the measuring part. So the discipline was what I'm trying to do, measure it and rewire some new beliefs around it, whether it's affirmations or whether, hey, I can do this. Just rewiring your thinking, changing your perspective of how you see it. So that was the action step. So I would like to hear what you guys came up with and how that worked for you. Again, hit us up on the Leaders Coach Pod on Instagram, or the Leaders Coach Podcast.com. The Leaders Coach Podcast.com. All right, so let's jump into something real quick, and I want to give you guys some more action steps to actually let's see where this takes us. And so I talked about faith and faithfulness. And I want to talk about this time sticking with it, right? Sticking with it. What is it? Sticking with, as I use as an example with the podcast. My job is to stick with this, because faith and faithfulness, I am to stick with what I know that I should be doing. So that's that faithfulness journey. And in order to stick with it, it comes with endurance. Leadership and endurance go hand in hand. Endurance and leadership isn't just about the physical stamina. I know sometimes when you're an athletic coach or when you're working out, it's all about the physical stamina. But it's also about mental, emotional, and spiritual resilience. Leaders who endure are those who stay the course despite challenges, setbacks, and opposition. And so when we're talking about leadership and we're talking about endurance, leadership and endurance, sticking with it, again, faith and faithfulness, what I was telling you guys at the beginning, be consistent over time. Now, I want to just talk about this one point, being consistent over time. Great leadership isn't about short bursts of effort, but sustained, intentional growth and influence. I was a facilitator for faith-driven entrepreneurship. And they taught what excellence was. They told us what excellence was. Excellence is long obedience in the same direction. Oh my. Long obedience in the same direction. That's excellence. That is consistency over time. So leaders, in order for us to see things happen, to see the victory, to see the outcome, we have to be consistent over time. I'm reminded of when I was in school with my doctoral degree. Woo, there was some enduring, a lot of enduring. There was a lot of consistency to stay on time, consistency to stay on my schedule, a lot of consistency, because again, it was about intentional growth and influence. It was about sticking with it. It was about sticking with what I knew I had to do. And so in order for us to build endurance in leadership, it requires intentional habits, mindset shifts, and strategies to sustain influence over time. Again, building endurance in leadership requires intentional habits, mindset shifts, and strategies to sustain influence over time. Sticking with it, sticking with it, sticking with it, sticking with it. What? Sticking with it. What? Sticking with it. Sticking with it. What? Sticking with it. So leaders, when you are faced with various trials, tribulations, hardships, obstacles, you have to pivot. You have to lead people. You have to lead yourself. And it gets hard because sometimes again, it goes back to that faith and faithfulness. Sometimes it's like, I know I have the faith for this. I know what I see. I know the vision. But this faithfulness, that journey, it's hard sometimes to stick with it. So you stick with it by enduring, by keep going, and when I say enduring, let me be clear. It's not about ignoring the obstacles, ignoring how you feel, ignoring what's going on with you, around you, or in you. It's about being aware, self-aware, being aware of what's going on, being aware of where you are, and still being able to stay on that faithfulness journey. So acknowledging, hey, this is an obstacle. Acknowledging this is a hardship, because I think sometimes when we endure, we ignore things. I'm not telling you guys to ignore anything, because then you're going to ignore it and it gets worse, and then you get to where you're going and you carrying all this internal baggage with you. No, what I'm telling you guys to do when it comes to enduring is being aware of where you are mentally, emotionally, being aware of the decisions, being aware of where you are, and enduring, because enduring isn't about feeling motivated all the time. It's about discipline. We just did an action step about discipline. It's about discipline, even when it's tough to commit to. So you have to stay committed to that faith, that belief that this is what God has told you. If you don't believe in God, that belief that this is in your heart, and that faithfulness is living according to that truth, that faith, enduring. So enduring. So as you're enduring, 3 things I want to leave you with you. Number 1, write down the daily small wins. When you win, even if it's small, write it down. Celebrate. Be consistent in your action. As I was telling my teachers, because again, I'm an administrator for my grade level, and I told them this in our meeting a few weeks ago. I said, this is the 5th cycle, or the 5th 6 weeks. And these young people, they are going to want to do the bare minimum. They're going to barely want to show up. It's going to be like pulling teeth. But I said, you must be consistent with your standard. You must be consistent with your action. Even if you got to take a deep breath, you got to go back and think about your why. You have to go back and get you maybe rest a little bit, sit back a little bit to rewire your thinking, or to take a breather. Whatever you have to do, you have to be consistent in your action. Because again, what did we just talk about a while ago? Excellence is long obedience in the same direction. And lastly, staying in the race. Staying in the race. Those are ways to continue to endure this faithfulness journey, this faith journey as leaders. Stick with it. Stick with it. I don't know what the it is for you, but stick with it. Stick with it. Take a break if you need to. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Tag somebody in if you need to. Sit back and look back at your strategies and revamp some things and look back at it. Put some more, whatever you have to do, but don't quit. Stick with it, because it shall truly come to pass. Though the vision tarry, it will happen. And as I end with this, it reminds me of my podcast. Though the vision tarry, because it did tarry, because I was supposed to have done this a year and a half ago. It will come to pass. It will come to pass. And so endure. And so your action step for this year, not this year, for this episode will be to endure. And I want you guys to write down those daily small wins. Write them down. Daily small wins. Celebrate those daily small wins. Be consistent in your action, because that's how people trust you. Leadership is credibility, but we'll talk about that another time. And then stay in the race. Stay in the race. Even if you got to stop and stretch along the way, got to grab you some water, because for my faith-driven leaders, the Bible tells us that the race is not given to the strong or to the swift, but to those who endure to the end. You got to endure. You have to endure. Stick with it, leaders. Stick with it. Go back and look at that faith and faithfulness. Go back and look at why you're enduring. Why are you doing this? If you're doing it for yourself, you probably need to reevaluate it. You got to do it for something higher and greater than you in order for you to stick with it. Hey, this has been the Leaders Coach, Dr. Shanita Brown. Again, you guys can contact us on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at The Leaders Pod, and also hit us up on our website at theleaderscoachpodcast.com. Also hit us up, ShanitaBrown.com. Hey, I would love to engage with you. I would love to hear from you. Tell somebody about this podcast. And again, thank you guys. I hope this has been a blessing to you. We will follow up on those action steps in our next episode. Again, if you want to be a guest, hit us up, theleaderscoachpodcast.com. Hey, do great things. Endure. You got this, champion. You are more than capable. You are worthy. You are valuable. And people are looking to you so that they can lead themselves well. God bless you. Talk to you next time. This has been the Leaders Coach Podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown.